everyone, welcome back to my class. This is Rumana Ali. I hope you all are doing well. In today's class, I'm going to start a chapter, Biotechnology, Principles and Processes. Now let us talk about the vectors. As I told you just before that vectors are nothing but the carriers of a desired gene. The desired gene can be carried through the vectors. So these vectors may be nucleic acids, they may be plasmids, DNAs or RNAs which we use to transfer the gene. And there are certain properties that vector must show, and that includes, the first one is it should be replicated. The vector should undergo replication. So if the vector is able to replicate, then the gene that is transferred or that is inserted into the vector, or it can also undergo the process of replication. So this is the first property that a vector must show. And the second one is the vector can be replicated only if it contains ORI sites. ORI are the sites where the replication can be initiated in the vectors. The next property is ROP protein. It is a protein that helps DNA polymerase enzyme to recognize and to carry out the process of replication in the vectors. The third property is it should have at least one selectable marker like antibiotic, gene resistant, enzyme producing gene. So these are some of the selectable markers. Selectable markers are nothing but they help us to identify whether the desired gene is inserted into the host or not. So the vector should have at least one selectable marker. And the other property is the restriction sites, where the endonucleases can make a cut. So a vector should possess one restriction site. Only one restriction site is needed so that a cut is made in the vector and a desired gene can be inserted. If a vector show more than one restriction site, then there will be no appropriate cuts that can be made by the endonucleases. So only one particular restriction site should be there in a vector so that the endonucleases can make a cut and we can easily insert a desired gene in them, and the vectors can easily carry that desired gene into the host. And the other property of vector is the vectors should be smaller in size so that it can easily handle. To handle them easily, it should have a small size. These are certain properties. The first one is ORI sites, which are also called as cos sites, should be there in the vector so that they can undergo replication. ROP protein should be there so that the DNA polymerase can recognize it, and it should have at least one selectable marker, that too to identify whether the desired gene is inserted into the host or not. And it should have only one restriction site to make a cut with the help of endonucleases, and it should be smaller in size. Let us take an example of one vector, that is PBR322. This is a vector. When we look at the structure of this vector, we can find CLA1 and HIND3 sites, and we can also find certain endonucleases like BAM-H1, SAL1, PVU2, PST1, PVU1, ECO-R1. When we count down all these endonucleases, then it will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. In total, 8 endonucleases are present. That means 8 sites are present where we can make a cut. So no endonucleases is repeated here. In this way, only one endonuclease makes a cut at a particular site. Now, these two are the selectable markers. Ampicillin resistant and tetracycline resistant are the selectable markers which are present in the vector PBR322. And here we can find the site which is called as ORI site. We know that ORI site is also known as cos site, where the replication initiates. And here ROP protein is present that helps the DNA polymerase to recognize it. In this way, it is a perfect vector which is having all the properties that a vector must have. And in this way, PBR322 is a vector that can be used to introduce a gene into the host. And one more vector is present, which is an important one, that is PI plasmid. This plasmid is isolated from Agrobacterium tumefaciens, and this is a plasmid that induces the cell division. If we insert or introduce a desired gene in this plasmid, then this plasmid, when it makes the gene to enter into the transformant or the host cell, then it stimulates the cell division. So here we can only use the plant cell as a host cell or transformant cell, because here the tumor is a condition where the cells are continuously dividing. In this way, the DNA which is inserted, it stimulates or induces the cell division. So this is about a plasmid called TI plasmid. Vectors are nothing but they are the gene carriers, and it should have all such properties. If a plasmid has all such properties, then it can be easily used as a vector. The next one is competent host. Host may be either eukaryotic cell or it may be prokaryotic cell. If we take a plant cell or an animal cell, eukaryotic cell means it includes animal cell, plant cell, and fungi, especially yeast. And prokaryotic cell is E. coli, bacterial cell. Now, if we are using plant cell as a host cell, then firstly we need to dissolve the cell wall that is present as an outer covering, and to digest the cell wall, certain enzymes are required. We have already discussed that certain enzymes are required that helps in the digestion of cell wall. After the digestion of cell wall, when the cell is present with the cell membrane and all the contents are present inside, that is cytoplasm and all the cell organelles, this type of cell that is without cell wall, it is called as protoplasm. Now, if a desired gene has to be inserted into the host cell, then we know that rDNA or gene is negatively charged particle, and the plasma membrane is impermeable. So this plasma membrane has to be first treated with some divalent ion. Divalent ions has to be added to the plasma membrane, and this divalent ions can be added by using calcium. And after the addition of divalent ions, these divalent ions increases the permeability of the plasma membrane. As soon as the permeability of the plasma membrane gets increases, the DNA particles or the gene particles can easily be inserted into the host cell. In this way, the divalent ions increasing the permeability of the plasma membrane, and here after the permeability gets increases, the DNA can be easily inserted into the cell. Now the gene has gone in, and we want that gene to replicate, that is present, that has been inserted into the host cell, and we want that gene to combine with the DNA of the host cell. Now to make the combination of the DNA of the host cell and the gene interest that has been inserted into it, we are going to do a treatment that is called as shock treatment. In this treatment, the host cell is first kept on the ice block. A cold treatment is given to that host cell. Then after the cold treatment, it suddenly go through the hot treatment. It is going to be heated at 40 to 45 degrees Celsius for few minutes. Then after the hot treatment, we are going to keep that host cell again on the ice block. In such a way, cold and hot treatment is given, that is called as shock treatment to the cell. Through this shock treatment, the gene gets inserted or the gene gets combined with the DNA of the host cell on its own. After the combination of the host DNA with that of the desired gene, then the host cell starts replicating, it starts multiplying, and when the host cell gets multiplies, automatically the DNA will also undergo replication, it also gets multiplied. Let us talk about some vectorless gene transfer method. So there are certain methods through which the gene can be transferred into the host cell without any vector. We are not using any vector here, but certain methods are there that helps us to transfer the gene into the body of the host or into the host cell. The first one is chemical method. In this method, the protoplast along with the desired gene is kept in a medium that contains a chemical called PEG. Here the PEG stands for polyethylene glycol. This is a chemical which makes the DNA or which makes the gene to get into the protoplast of the host cell. So this is about the chemical method. The next one is gene gun method, or it is also called as biolistic method. In this method, the DNA or a desired gene is coated with the tungsten or the gold particle. Here the DNA is present, it is coated with the tungsten or the gold particle. Then it acts as a chute and it can be automatically inserted into the protoplast of the host cell. The next one is electroporation method. In this method, the host cell along with the gene transfer is kept in a medium and an electric voltage is passed for a very short period of time. So here the electric current is passed at a very high voltage for a very short period of time, and during the passage of the electric current in the medium, a pore is made or a pore is created in the host cell or in the protoplasm, and through that pore the DNA can be inserted. And after the insertion of the gene, the pore which is formed in the protoplasm of the host cell, it can be closed. So this is about the method called electroporation method. The next one is microinjection method. It is a method through which the gene can be injected into the animal cells or into the human cell. Especially the gene of the egg cell is isolated and it is going to be injected into the human cell. The microinjection process and equipment or a device is used which shows the different parts like vacuum pump, needle-like structure and a guider. Vacuum pump creates a suction that holds the cell, and here the needle-like structure is present through which the gene can be inserted into that cell which is held by the suction of a vacuum pump. In this way, this is the process microinjection through which the gene of interest or the desired gene can be injected into the different cells or into the different host cells. These are the methods where the gene can be transferred into the host cell without using any vector. In the chemical method, we are using a chemical medium called polyethylene glycol medium through which the gene can be transferred. In the gene gun method, which is also called as biolistic method, the DNA is coated with some gold or the tungsten particle and it acts as a shot and it can be easily shorted into the host cell. In the electroporation method, electric current at a high voltage is passed through which a pore is created in the host cell and the gene of interest can be inserted or can be transferred through that pore into the host. And microinjection is a method in which we are using a device through which we can easily inject a gene of interest into the host cell. So these are certain vectorless gene transfer methods. That's all for today. Meet you in next class. Thank you.